So any questions on the variables? Last class we completed two local variables and non-static variables. The last one we need to see static variables, right? So I'll just recap. Local variables means if you declare any variable inside the method body or block, that variable is called local variable, and that will be accessible in the same method, not outside the method. If you keep these points in mind, it's going to be easy for you to automate or to work with the Java coding also. So these points are very, very important. So if one variable you are not able to access in another method, check where you declared that. So if you want to use one variable in all the methods, means you should not declare it as a local variable. That's very simple. You want to use a one variable in multiple methods, don't declare that as a local variable. Declare it as a global static or non-static variable, so that you can access anywhere. And local variables will be stored in the stack memory. Once method execution is over, they will be destroyed from the stack. Local variable syntax is data type, variable name equal to value, semicolon. You can assign, you can use a final keyword for the local variables. That's the only modifier keyword you can use for the local variables. If you apply final, you cannot modify that final variable value. That's the points yesterday we covered. And non-static variable, if you declare any variable outside the methods, below the class, without a static keyword. See, everything in the definition itself, it is telling where to declare non-static variables, where you can access them in the any non-static methods. Directly you can access that variable. Just call the variable name. You can use in the any non-static methods. Non-static variables cannot be used in the static methods directly. You don't have a direct access to non-static variables in the static methods. Why? Both are a different category. That's why you cannot access them. Their memory is different. This memory is different. Non-static variables will be allocated in the heap memory at runtime when you create object for the class. So the memory area for the non-static variables is in the heap area. And syntax of non-static variable is access modifier, data type, variable name equal to value. That's a non-static variable syntax. You can apply final keyword for the non-static variable also. But if you apply, it cannot be modified. And last one, static variables. I just recapped, okay? And I'm just going through the one which is left in the variable. Three types of variables: local, non-static, static. So what is meant by static? If you declare any variable as a static, then it is known as a static variable. If you declare any variable inside the class, above the methods, with the static keyword, then that variable is called static variable. So static variable can be used to refer the common property of all objects. So that's not unique to you, it's a common to all objects. Then you can use a static keyword for that property. So example, company name of employees, college name of students. Like our main method also static. Why they made main method as a static? Because to execute any line under that main method, it will be called. So it's a common. For every line execution, the main method has to be called. Then only your line will execute. So that is the reason they made main method as a static. If you don't make main method as a static, it will lead to extra memory allocation. Every line, the memory will occupy. It's a waste of memory, right? If you make a static, one time memory allocates once only, one time only. And you can reuse n number of times. So it saves the memory when you create a static method and static variables. But if it is not common, you should not declare it as a static. That's a wrong observation again. If it is not common, don't declare it as a static. If it is common, you feel that it's common to many objects, then declare it as a static. So static variables have to be declared at class level and cannot be declared at the method level. So the static variable gets memory only once in the class area at the time of class loading. So who will load the class? Who will load the class? Dot class files. Who will load the dot class files?
Compiler.
No. Compiler, what is the compiler? It's clearly there. Compiler means what it will do. Compiler will compile the code.
Yeah, it converts into bytecode.
That's what the right arrow on that day I explained with the diagrams.
Yeah. Dot.
Class loader. Who will do that? Class loader will load the class files into JVM. That class loader, once it loads the class files, then it will come to this method area or class area, we call this. All the static data will come and store here in this memory. So that's the points I explained. Okay, static variables are accessible in any method. Static method or non-static method. Both methods you can use that static variable. Why? Because it's common to all. That's why you can access it anywhere. Okay. So that's the static variables. So which memory they will store, where you can access. Where you can access means you have to tell this in both the methods, static and non-static methods. So the static variable gets memory only once in the class area at the time of class loading, only one time. Clear? And where you can declare them? Above the class, above the methods, below the class. This is the area. So what is the syntax first? Syntax, let's go to the syntax. Access modifier, then static, data type, variable name equal to value. So access modifier, so you can apply final keyword also on the static variables. Access modifier, final, static, data type, variable name equal to value. So all the final variables you can write in cap letters, every letter. If you are creating a final variable, it should be all letters are in cap letters and words must be joined with underscore. That's the naming conventions of a final variable writing process. So like this. So public, final, static, int, min words equal to 300. So can I change this minimum words value 300 to any other value?
No.
So here I am in the next line, I am trying to change, see what will happen. Minimum words plus 25. So what will happen in this line?
It will throw error.
It will throw compile time error. It will throw compile time error. Why it is compile time error? So because this is a final variable. You cannot change it. So you are reassigning a new value for this variable. No, you cannot do that. So already you assigned 300. That's a final. It's very, very clear. Final means this value is the final. You cannot change it to some other value. So basically final keyword is used to create a constants. If you want to create a constants, you will use a final keyword. So which is not going to change in your entire project. So that is the final advantage. See that where you can declare a static variables below the class. See syntax I have written access modifier, static, data type, variable name equal to value semicolon. So float f2 equal to 5.5. So what kind of variable is this?
Non-static. Non-static.
Variable. So what kind of variable is this x, y, z?
Static.
Static. It's very clear. It is there. Static keyword is there. Okay. Let me stop this. Jenkins job is running. Okay. So let it go. No problem. So that is the static variable. See this one. Here I assigned a value for all of the variables, but here I didn't assign. I just declared it. See, I'm going to assign a value here in this method. Some method I have written. So local variable I declared data type variable name equal to value. So here what are the local variables? So how many local variables are here in this sum method inside?
A. Add method or add.
Add is declared where?
So it declared in outside the method. It's a static variable.
It's a static variable, right? You are just calling here and assigning a value for that. That's it.
A only here. The local
here
variable.
only A is the local variable. And you are using in the calculations all the variables. See what calculation you are doing? Very simple calculation, right? What is this calculation?
Addition.
Addition, just sum. So that's why I given method name also simple sum. So addition you are doing and assigning that output to which variable?
Add.
This static variable. Add variable you are assigning the value. Then you can print the sum of numbers is. See, this is the string plus add. Add is a so integer, but I can add. I just doing printing that add value. Subtract. Subtract is a static method or non-static method?
Non-static method.
Non-static method because no static keyword here. Here you have a static keyword, but here you don't have a static keyword. So here you can declare again local variable. What are the local variables here?
Careful. D.
D is the local variable. And X, Y are the static variables. Global static variables. And F2 is a global non-static variable. So non-static variable you can use in non-static method, right? But a static variable also I'm using in the non-static methods. So static variable I told you can use in both the methods. So you used the static variables in the static method and you're using it even in non-static method also. So that's what I covered here. Static variables are accessible in any method. That's why I accessed here and even non-static method also. Clear? Now, so let's go static variables and non-static variable difference. Static variables can be accessed using class name. You want to access in another place. So how can you access static variables? Class name dot static variable. I told you already in the system dot out time. All the out to in, these are the static variables, right? How I accessed them? System, the class dot that variable name. So here also any static variable or static method you want to call in another places, in outside the class or outside the package, anywhere. So what is the formula? Class name dot static variable or class name dot static method. Please remember that. So how can you access non-static variables? By using object reference. You will create object for the class. With that object reference, you can access non-static variables. You can access that non-static variables. Static variables can access them with the static methods as well as non-static methods inside also. Static variables can be accessible in both the methods. So they can be accessed only in non-static methods. Non-static variables can be accessed in non-static methods only. Static variables allocate memory only once while loading the class. That means execution before itself, it will load into the memory. So non-static variable, when they will get a memory? When you create object for the class. So each memory is allocated when you create a new object. If you create object only, you will get that. Otherwise, you won't get it. So static variables are shared by all objects, instances of class. So here, each object has its own copy of non-static variables. Each object. Every object has its own copy of non-static variables. Static variables have a global scope and non-static variables have till non-static methods. Local scope, that method, no non-static methods only. So that's all about static and non-static difference. If you want more on static, you can practice these programs and other things. Let's go to final variable. So what is final variable? So I have discussed a static keyword. Now I'm going for a final keyword. Final is a non-access modifier keyword. It can be applied on class, method, variable. That means you can create a final class. You can create a final method. You can create a final variables. You can create a final variables. So once you use final keyword, the final variable value cannot be changed. Final variable name, you should write all letters should be in cap letters and words must be joined with underscore. So that's the final variable, how you can write. So this is the syntax. So how you can write a final int. So this one. Final int, this one. So you have to write a cap letters, everything. Okay. So make sure you write a cap letters. So here is some of the questions. Can you access static variables under non-static methods? Yes or no?
Yes, we can use static variable.
Static variables you can access anywhere. Can you access non-static variables under static methods?
No.
The below questions are also similar. Can static variables be used with the static methods?
Yes.
Can static variables be used with the non-static methods?
Yes.
Yes. So can non-static variables be used with the static methods?
No.
Can non-static
Yes.
variables be used with the non-static methods? Non-static variables can be used with the non-static methods or no?
Yes, we can use.
Yes, we can use. So these are some of the questions. You just practice them. Okay, so how can you execute the static method under main method in the same class. So directly call the static method name. So any static method you can call, or any static variable you can call in the static methods directly, or non-static methods also you can call. So just a static method name you call, and that will export for you. So how can you access one class static variable in another class? For example, you have class A, inside you have X variable, static variable. How can you access in class B? So you have to say class name dot static variable. That means A dot X. So if you assume A is a class, X is a static variable, in another B class, how can you call that? So this formula you have to apply. Class name dot static variable. So how can you access one class static method in another class? Class name dot static method. So how can you call the static variable under main method in the same class? Directly call the static variable. So these are all operators, you know, mathematical operators, plus, minus, multiplication, division, right? So I don't want to tell those things. So here are some of the questions. You can practice the same thing, okay? Just try. Yesterday you have written, right? Here a lot of questions. So practice all exercises, every topic after, okay? Practice them. So that's all about variables. And so let's, I will close this, okay? I'll close this and we'll join for methods. Methods is a very special topic. I don't want to mix with the variables. So we'll start the methods. What is methods and everything. So please